The stool didn't look as high as it did from down below. The first poem I'm reading tonight is called The Flowering Dogwood. She planted it the year they built the house, the sapling already showing demure pink flowers. An icon on the front lawn, a showpiece each spring, as the brick and stone house evolved into a home. The dogwood was the setting for family photos at Easter, or later, if the fickle holiday arrived too early. But the focus of those pictures was always the tree, the people only supporting cast. New cars, too, were posed in front of that tree for their maiden photos before they were marred with scratches and dents inflicted by shopping carts. Even their new shine eclipsed by the tree's beauty. Their daughter was married in front of that tree, both ripe and in full bloom in the warmth of May. For 5 decades, she watched the birds stoke up on its berries, each fall before they departed. The woman and the tree aged together, trunks bent and gnarled under the weight of life. Though a fraction of its height, she stood on tiptoe to spray it with potions and concoctions she couldn't pronounce. At her direction, the gardener dutifully cut out dead branches, an arboreal version of a bad comb-over. When her husband died, she left the house, which she said was no longer her home, but she always asked about her tree. Not wanting to obstruct the view of their lovely new house, the new owners quickly cut down that rotting old dogwood and placed its bones at the curb for trash.
My technical advisor has advised me that we need to move this down.
Okay.
Because it's in your face.
Okay.
Is that better? Carl?
Carl, how's the sound on that?
You approve?
Much better.
Okay.
This way I can see your nose and mouth.
I actually may have been improving in front of my face. But the second one tonight is called How Maria Came to America, and it's a sequence. 1. The husband. Because his wife had died giving birth to their 3rd child in as many years, he sent for the sister. Though only 14, she had grown strong farming the poor soil in the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, her already broad hips designed by nature for the tasks ahead. 2. The crossing. On the ship, crammed with anxious women and crying children, her stomach echoed the heaving waves, a harbinger of the sickness which would rack her young body 5 times more in years to come. But it was all right, for at the end of the journey, her sister waited, she thought. 3. The arrival. At Ellis Island, he told her, and waited patiently while she wept. When she had no more tears for her dead sister, she gathered into her arms the infant who had killed his mother, and sang softly to him in Italian. Third one tonight's a little bit lighter, Lunar Mardi Gras, which is sort of a nature fantasy poem. The full moon floats above the oak as her goddess Artemis keeps watch. A passing band of clouds surrounds her, a celestial Mardi Gras parade, sailing through the sky on crystalline floats that, though silhouetted, can't conceal their gaudy costumes, woven by ice-fractured prisms, nor raucous music from silent saxophones and cymbals raised in celebration. Demanding tribute, they shout, "Show us your breast." Coyly, she complies. The clouds move on, leaving the moon floating above the oak, decked out in Mardi Gras beads, as Artemis beams. And my last one is a sequence. Also, it's a history poem, and for any of you who've been to Halifax, Nova Scotia, you can't go too far in that town without knowing the story. It's called Halifax Harbor. 1. Leviathan cruise ships glide above salt-bleached bones and splintered docks, revelers deaf to century-old spectral screams. The Micmac Indians called it Chibukto, Big Harbor. So deep that even maritime winters can't freeze it, perfect for cruise ships and convoys. Those not preoccupied with bingo and buffets may listen and learn how, during the Great War, the war to end all wars, Allied ships gathered awaiting escort across the Atlantic by fiercer vessels, How? At 7:30 a.m. on December 6, 1917, the French munition ship Mont Blanc left her anchorage at the mouth of the harbor to join a gathering convoy, then collided with the Emo, a Norwegian ship bound for New York to collect relief supplies for Belgium. A collision, a fire, a captain and crew abandoning ship, the ultimate act of cowardice. A floating bomb ablaze heading for the docks, an explosion unlike the world had known a generation before Hiroshima. Dead, nearly 2,000. Homes destroyed, more than 1,600. Homes damaged, 12,000. Not a pane of glass left intact on either side of the harbor, yet miles from any enemy gun. 2. More than 500 miles and nearly a century away, a white spruce towers above the Boston Common in gratitude. More than 500 miles and nearly a century ago, they came by train in less than a winter's day, among the first to arrive and the last to leave. Nurses and doctors saw burns, bandaged wounds, sawed-off limbs, and excised eyes. Each Christmas, the children of those maimed and injured send a tree to Boston to honor the ones who tirelessly did what they could to help in hell. Limbs amputated, 25. Eyes removed, 250. Injured treated, more than 9,000. 3. They're mostly gone now. Till recently you could see them in the nursing homes around Halifax, some missing an eye, some totally blind, never to see again, the storms coming in over the sea, or herring gulls slicing through summer skies, or rampant purple lupins bivouacked on June hillsides. They were children settling into their morning schoolwork when they heard the explosion and ran to the windows, hopeful visions of fireworks, shattered by exploding glass shrapnel, piercing young corneas. They were the luckier ones. 4. I tried to warn him, to tell him that the Mont Blanc with that cargo, wet and dry picric acid, 300 tons, TNT, 200 tons, gun cotton, 10 tons, benzol, 35 tons, a floating bomb she was ablaze in the harbor, right outside his little railway office. Aye, the harbor was a sight to see in those days. Ships from all over the world with supplies of food and munitions and troops, waiting for the warships to take them across the sea to the front. Some days it looked as if you could walk across the harbor on all those boats and never wet your boots. Coleman, I think his name was. Vincent Coleman. He had kissed the wife and 3 barons when he left that morning and walked the 5 blocks to his office, like any other day. No doubt put his muffler a little tighter, since December is like to blow hereabout. I'd seen him around the dock when I was working there. They were expanding the rail line to support the war effort, so he was always at that telegraph key of his. Only a few of us knew her cargo. Hush-hush, top-secret war stuff, you know. Damned fool mixture, if you ask me. His boss left as soon as I told him. Coleman started to leave, then turned back to that telegraph key he sat at all day. He was thinking about those 300 souls aboard passenger train number 10, the overnight train from St. John, due in Halifax at 8:55. In a few minutes it would pass, directly in front of that floating bomb. With those little dots and dashes, he saved them all. Hold up the train. Ammunition ship afire in harbor, making for Pier 6, and will explode. Guess this will be my last message. Goodbye, boys. So dapper he was, in his suit and high starched collar, with that perfect pompadour and full mustache, until he sent that last keystroke. He was the last thing I ever saw. Goodbye, boys.
Wow.